All right, so welcome to today's training. We're basically just going to be breaking down exactly how it is that we scaled 3 different clients to 6 figures a month. Now, full transparency, one of the clients we basically started from scratch with, created the whole offer, and we'll get to the results in just a second here. So let's just dive right in, okay? So client number 1, he was already running a Facebook ads agency himself, and fairly successfully, by the way, and wanted to create a coaching program to basically teach other agency owners, media buyers, freelancers how to more effectively run Facebook ads for their clients. Okay, how to generate better results for them via Facebook ads. All right. Now, he had never done this before, so that's why, once again, the first step was craft the offer around his expertise and the value that he could provide. So then once we did that, we essentially had to transition into the lead generation side of things, which, because this was a new offer, he wasn't running ads for it yet. He did have, though, a Facebook group. So what we did was we used the two-step, which is basically, in case you're not familiar with it, a two-step post is the influencer, the individual, the coach, basically says to his audience that I recently created X training. If you'd like to receive it, comment Y below, and I'll have a member of my team reach out and get you connected with that resource, that training, right? So what we basically did was we had him start to utilize these two-step posts inside of his Facebook group, and simultaneously we created the setter process so that a separate individual, not him, would be able to come in and work or communicate with the individuals that responded to his posts. Okay, and then once we had the setter opportunity and process in place to create these higher appointment volume, then we had to deploy a sales framework. So we're not huge advocates of being like pushy, aggressive, sleazy, anything like that. So what we've done is we've created an enrollment framework that basically works with individuals so much so that we're, 1, trying to figure out where they're at, 2, where they want to go, 3, what the biggest thing is that's holding them back. And if we feel like we can bridge that gap and help them get to where they're trying to be in the most efficient manner possible, then we basically lead them or guide them into making a decision to serve their own best interests. And the best part is that we can do this entire process in a 30 minutes or less time frame by following this framework. Okay, so the grand results of working with client 1 was, once again, going from $0 to $103,000 of revenue in the first 34 days on a 6K offer. Okay, so that's going from nothing to 6 figures, 34 days. Now, client 2 was a little bit more established already. Okay, they were already doing about $80,000 or so a month, and the very first thing that we had to do with this client was we realized that because their average call time was like about an hour, a little over, we had to diagnose what it was that was taking so long on these calls. So the very first thing that we did was we basically created a video to replace the 15 to 20, sometimes longer minute presentation that each rep had to do inside of the call. So we basically had the client, the coach, create the video one time and make everybody watch it. That way the rep didn't have to basically try to reproduce the same energy and expertise and authority that the coach themselves was able to put inside of that one video. Okay, and then the second thing that we had to do with this client is he had lots of conversations that were going on, but they weren't having a very high number of conversions from those conversations. So all we had to do was essentially massage the appointment setting language that they were utilizing, and they were able to see a dramatic increase in the number of appointments that were being booked. Okay, and then once we started to find what language worked, we basically plugged in an appointment setter to follow the process. That way it was hands-free for him. Okay, and then once we had the appointment setting process in place, once again, we essentially turned to sales now. So we implemented the same 30-minute enrollment framework that we did with client 1. We essentially just trained their existing closer, because they already had one. We trained that existing closer to be able to use this same framework, and then we recruited and trained 2 additional closers and basically plugged them into the process because there was such a higher volume of appointments. One closer wasn't able to handle all of it, so we had to plug once again, this additional setter in to do the screening, the discovery calls, as well as the closers to be able to handle and do the enrollments. Okay, so the result of this is we went from $87,260 a month to over $300K. And this took 90 days on a $5K offer. Oh, and by the way, after utilizing our 30-minute enrollment framework, they were able to literally cut their call times in half, went from over 60 minutes to 30 minutes or less on average. Okay. Now, client number 3. This gentleman, he teaches what's known as short-term rental arbitrage, which really that's just a super fancy way of saying you teach other people, like your average 9-to-5er, like your basic investor, how to leverage other people's properties to create a passive source of income for yourself by listing them on things like Airbnb, VRBO, things of that nature. Okay, so Brian, he was already doing about $120,000 a month when we first connected with him. And very similar to client number 2, their enrollment calls were actually much longer here. They were about 90 minutes to sometimes 2 hours long. Okay, and once again, we identified that one of the biggest root causes of these elongated call timers is that there was a certain presentation or process that was almost kind of like robotic that the rep was trying to go through on each call. And rather than like bringing the prospect closer into that buying pocket, we found it actually brought them farther apart. Okay, so not only were we able to reduce the call times, but also increase the conversion rate. So anyways, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. Apologies. So that was the first thing we did is we tweaked the video. And then for Brian, he had an awesome guarantee, which I'll actually go ahead and share with you right now. So Brian utilizes, even though his program is $20,000, it is a money-back guarantee. Okay, so the way it works is you have to meet certain requirements or do certain things in order to qualify for the money-back guarantee. But here's the thing. We know that if you actually do the things you need to do to qualify for the money-back guarantee, you'll actually generate the results, i.e. you'll generate the extra $100K a month for your business. Okay, so that's why we're 100% confident that, and Brian was 100% confident that we're able to offer that type of guarantees, because we know from experience that if you just do these certain things, you can generate the result. So you're able to offer people that peace of mind with a money-back guarantee. So anyways, we found that people were having a lot of trouble explaining that and understanding that on the sales calls, so we created a PDF to kind of break it down and make it so that you could just see it and read it, because oftentimes people would be like, I want to see that in writing. Well, now we give it to them ahead of time, right? Awesome. So then the second thing we did with client number 3 here is he actually had a list of, I don't remember the exact size, I want to say it was around 86,000 or so people that had previously bought something of his before, but he simply wasn't like having any contact or communication with. So what we did was we designed an outreach script to literally just pick up the phone and call this list of people that had already bought something from him. We designed that outreach process, and then we plugged in 2 setters to basically spend several hours a day reaching out to this list, and ultimately each one would typically book between 8 and 12 appointments per day. Okay, so 2 setters, that'd be 16 to 24 appointments per day. All right. And then what we found was, because we created this video and the PDF, a lot of people were not going through this content ahead of the sales call. So what we did was we implemented a messaging sequence that went in place specifically after the sales call was booked, so that people would, 1, not only be more likely to actually show up and attend their call, but 2, they would have gone through that indoctrination content so that they show up, basically, in that buying pocket, ready to move forward, already certain that your program, your product is the right fit for them, kind of thing. All right. And then the last thing that we had to do for client number 3 here was we trained his existing team members on our 30-minute enrollment framework, because once again, their call timers or call lengths were quite high, very up there. And then we plugged in 3 additional closers once we had all the systems in place and dialed in. So the result is we went from a 53% to a 74% attendance rate. The call timers went from on average 90 to 120 minutes all the way down to 30 to 45 minutes on average. Okay, the closers that we placed were able to get it to that 30 minutes or less, but his existing team members had just a little bit of trouble getting below 45 minutes for some reason. But in any case, the ultimate result was we took him from doing $126,000 a month to over $4.25 in literally 60 days. Okay, and then the very next month he went on to produce over $500,000 in revenue for a single month. So anyways, I know I covered a whole lot of information here. We went through a lot. So if you have any questions, you feel like you need help implementing any of this in your own business, feel free to reach out. We're more than happy to help if we can. Talk soon.